Peter Mutabazi joins us, an entrepreneur and international advocate for kids and the founder of Now I Am Known. It's a corporation that supplies resources that encourages and affirms children. Earlier on today on the show, we had the chancellor from the University of Illinois. He's got an amazing life story. Peter Mutabazi, I don't know that I've ever known anybody or met anybody or had anybody on the air with a life story quite like yours. So congratulations and thank you for being such an inspiration.
Well, thank you for having me here, Steve. Truly a joy to be here.
So before we get deeper into the main reason you get up and go to work every day, your life's work, give us a brief on your story. Were you an orphan? Where were you as a little kid?
So I grew up in Uganda, poor of the poorest. Poor that there was no meal, poor that I had to go fetch water 3 to 4 miles away every day, poor that we had no food really. I had one pair of clothes for Monday to Saturday and one for Sunday, and that was it. And then at the age of 4, I began to realize that my father was the most abusive father you could think of. So on one side, I had poverty. On the other, I had a mean dad. So at the age of 10, I was like, my dad is going to kill me, but why should I give him the opportunity to do so? So I ran to the bus station and I asked the lady, hey, of all these buses, which one goes the farthest? I had never been 20 miles away, and I went 500 kilometers away. And I ended up in Kampala, and I became a street kid from the age of 10 to the age of almost 16 until I met a stranger who I was trying to steal from. And he saw me, and he said, hey, what's your name? For the first time, someone asked my name, and he said, hey, if you have an opportunity to go to school, would you love to go to school? I was like, absolutely no. School is for those who have families. School is for those who dream. I was always called. I would never amount to anything. I was garbage. That's what I had from my father, and that's what I had from other people. So to me, the idea of school was, there is no hope for me. And that was my life as a kid.
You're a miracle. You know that. And this individual saved your life by showing you how to save your life because you had to make those choices. But there's still a long leap between that and what you've developed. So tell me about Now I Am Known, this corporation and what you do.
So I'm a single foster dad. So in the last 7 years, I have fostered 34 children. Right now I have 7, adopted 1, and in the process of adopting the other 3. When it came to foster dad, I have teenagers that realize just how little they had. 1, equipped to be able to face the real world, but 2, just bringing longing to be somewhere. So I created Now I'm Known Foundation to truly help, aging out teens, by making room makeovers for them. So they have a safe place to be, a safe place to call their own, but also that it's their stuff. For the very first time that they've never chosen a bed sheet or a bed or even have no clue where to get it, So in order to really help them settle down, but also have a safe place for them, but also help their families who want to be foster parents, but they're like, my room is not ready. And I'm like, hey, if I can make a room makeover for you, would you consider being a foster parent? So in some way, provide a resource. So in some way that we get to help more kids have a safe and a loving place to be. That's what I'm all about.
Peter, your story is just, you're a superhero. Your story is inspiring, and I'm glad that you're sharing it with us. Not only do you have the foundation, but you also have this book called Now I Am Known. We can read more about your story, but what was it? Certainly there was someone that reached out to help you. We all need the foundation in life to take us to the next level. You would think that a kid that left from an abusive family living on the street might need some therapy, and you wouldn't have this great of an attitude. How did you overcome all of that, and where does this come from?
Well, I think for me, the man who took me in, he really, at first I was really angry, like, why does he care so much, But with time, I realized that he saw potential in me that nobody had ever seen. And he didn't give up on me. I was a thief trying to steal from him, but he didn't see that. I was smelly. Never seen a shower before. But he didn't see the ugly part of where I came from, but he saw the best in me. And I think for me, that really helped me, learn about myself, but see that I had a value in life, that, going to school was important, being kind to people was important. And that really instilled me of who he was. I had never seen a good dad. He showed me what a father looks like. So he showed me things that I'd never seen before, and that became really inspiration for me that I wanted to be like him. And that's really what helped me, to go as far as I went, because he showed me. He walked. He didn't tell me, Peter, you need to clean up, but he cleaned up, and he showed me ways, and that really inspired me to do something. So when I came to the United States, I just didn't want to amass wealth and stuff, for sure. But I really wanted to use what he taught me on how I turn my own trauma to help others, on how I can do it for kids in foster care, because I relate with them. I was unwanted, unloved, and in some way, I think I figured I understand their trauma because I had gone through it all. And I thought, if I could make a difference, these will be my people. But I was a single dad. I was a single man, so I didn't know they would allow me to be a foster parent. And once they did, and that really became my inspiration. Too much given, much is required. But I felt I'd been given so much that it was time for me to do for others, to what someone did for me, that I can see in the eyes of a kid in a foster care and say, it's going to be okay, it's going to be fine.
You said something really important in the beginning when you said this person who saved you or led you to saving yourself. This person asked you your name, and my son is going to join us in a couple of minutes and talk about being a foster dad himself. My grown son, my adult son, told me at one point when you stopped to donate to someone who's panhandling, stop and ask them their name. Ask them their name. Humanize the connection. Why is that such a big deal?
Because where we come from, we've been, in some ways seen like we're not human beings, So when someone recognizes you by your name, in some way they're bringing the reminder of who you are, what your mother named you, what the reason they named you, Yes, to me, no one had ever called me that name. I was called garbage. I would never amount to anything. The sewer kid, that's how they called us. Yes, we smell like sewer. Yes, we look like garbage for sure. But we're a human being. And in some way, by calling me those names, it made me feel like I was garbage, because I looked like one. But him calling me my name, for the very first time, I think I felt I could hear the voice of my own mother calling me, and that reminded me of human I was. And so it's important, even when you street people in the United States, rather than just give food, say, what's your name? And then give them something, It's a way to validate who they are, but also give them dignity by just asking who their names are.
What happened to the guy that said hello to you and do you want to go to school? What happened to that person?
Oh, well, so he took me to school. So I went to school in England. I went to school. That's how I came to the United States. And they became my family, They took me in once I stayed at school for 6 months. And, everyone knows them as my mom and dad because that's the role they played. They really stepped up and gave me the joys and taught me ways on how to be a parent, because I lived and watched what parents look like.
It's an amazing story. It's a book. It's the Now I Am Known Foundation.org. Jane, last word?
Peter, you're just, I can hear your story all day long. Kindness is what comes through. We're never going to live your story. We can read about it. But do you feel that in this tough world, this heated climate that we live in, kindness is really the basis of where we can start today?
Absolutely. When you're kind, you get to see people who are going through a difficult time. You're not seeing the behaviors, but you're seeing the kindness towards them that really helps you to understand where they're coming from. I feel kindness is like stepping in someone else's shoes and say, how can I be there? How can I listen to you? That truly helps whoever is feeling at job, at work, in marriage, that really impacts them in ways that we could never imagine. So by it doesn't matter where, in the drive-thru, being kind to someone that you never know, just the joy or the uplifting message or ways that you've encouraged them to go on in life by just being kind.
We live in a time where people scream at each other, where people have a difference of opinion, and that ends relationships. I hope you're listening to the words of Peter Mutabazi, and you take some inspiration from his life. God bless you, Peter. It's an honor to know you briefly and have you on the show. You're welcome back here to talk about the foundation and talk about the cause anytime, but I wish you good health and some sanity in that house full of kids you got.
Yes, I've got 7 of them. They keep me busy, so thank you for making me seen, heard, and known as well.
Now I Am Known Foundation.org, and get the book Now I Am Known. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Peter.
Johnny, it's not very tough to book this guest. It's Ross Cochran. Good morning, son. How are you?
I'm happy to be here.
Hi, Ross.
Hi.
Ross is a foster parent. He and his wife, Lauren, just had their 10th anniversary yesterday, by the way.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Did you get him anything, Jen?
Yeah, it's in the mail.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I hope I got the right address. You gave me the address, right? It was the right one?
He did ask, actually. I just wanted you to give me I know you got other shows you need to do. But no, I know you're in the middle of something.
Around this morning.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I know you're in the middle of something here, but in the meantime, the foster situation in Illinois, it's not good. We're not here to sugarcoat it. We're here to inspire and tell people that even if you have a modicum of curiosity, you should look into it because there's lots of ways you can help, including helping foster parents by giving them a day or two off. So tell us what you know.
Yeah, I always want to caution people whenever they say, well, the system's so broken, because I want to remind people the system's built on brokenness, right? Child welfare shouldn't exist.
Sure.
But because of the brokenness of the world or the brokenness of society, whatever moniker you want to apply there, that's why this exists. So, of course, there's going to be logistic challenges. And everybody who works in child welfare is heroes, is saints, is whatever moniker you want to apply there. But when you get plugged in, if you have been listening and you have a modicum of curiosity, there's a ton of ways to help. One of the ways that Lauren and I found really helpful was we became what's known within the foster care world as rested foster care placements. So if you think about it from the perspective of a caseworker, so a child comes into foster care, the way it works in the state of Illinois is every child goes into care with DCFS. So DCFS has this case, and sometimes they're going to be able to take care of those kids themselves, and sometimes they work with other agencies to help take care of those kids. Now, if I'm a caseworker, I may have a kid who, if I don't find a home for them, they're going to wind up having to go to a shelter. They're going to wind up having to sleep. You know, that's where you read stories every once in a while on the news where this kid was asleep in a caseworker's office, right? Where there's just not enough beds. And when you are a respite placement, one of the opportunities you're able to provide is for that caseworker to go, okay, these folks have stepped up and said, hey, I'm not necessarily going to adopt this child. I'm not necessarily wanting to commit to a long-term placement, but I can take this child for a short period of time so you can make a better placement. So that's happened a couple times for Lauren and I where, you know, they said, hey, it's going to be 2 days. It wound up being 10, right? That's always the thing that's going to happen. But in that course of going from 2 days to 10, that what otherwise that child would have moved again and again and again, an extended relative in this kid's life was able to get better set up to take care of them, and then eventually that kid went back home. And that kind of thing can happen if the system has more people in it. So the biggest message I try to preach whenever I get asked about foster care is we just need more people. You know, you may feel like right now it doesn't make sense for your family to be foster parents, and that's fine, but that doesn't mean that you can't get involved.
And can anybody, let's say you are a family, you've got 7 kids running around the house, and this is something that you're inclined to do, or you have no kids, or you're over 65. Are there requirements for even respite foster, or just you call and do the investigation?
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, there's everybody can play. And that's a really important thing too, right? Because if you're 65 and you don't have any kids in your house, and you're listening and you want to do something and you want to be a foster parent, you can offer something to a kid that my wife and I in our 30s cannot offer them, right? And what the only silver lining with how challenging the system is right now is we need everybody. So, you know, a lot of challenges right now is that kids will have cases where sometimes they need single moms, or they need 2 moms in the household, right? That means that we need everybody. Or they need a situation where they have a house that has a lot of animals, right? Just because the animals bring a lot of extra comfort. We need everybody. So if you are listening and you want to get involved, you know, there's an organization called Let It Be Us that I've talked about on WLS a lot. I've talked about everywhere a lot, and I think they do amazing work in helping people. Learn more about them at letitbes.org. I'm not connected with them. I just think they're really, really great. So,
and it's a great starting point.
Yeah.
That's a great first step if you're looking to get involved within the context of the state of Illinois.
Please consider it, regardless of your situation, because it'd be a wonderful thing to do. It's atrocious, the numbers we have in Illinois in the foster care program. Thanks for taking the time. It's Ross, you said? Ross Cochran?
Yeah.
How do you spell that? C.
No, it could be with a K. Cochran. I mean, who knows?
With an E at the end, right?
Yeah, definitely with an E.
And Ross has an E at the end,
and
too.
Ross, by the way, has a side project. He's the executive. He works at Awana and takes care of their comms and their podcast, which is great. You could look into that, obviously. But another side project is the executive producer of a podcast, which I've not heard, called Live from My Office, which I understand is quite good. So good work by you.
It's a lot of cursing on that show, though.
I heard the host is a tyrant, though. How's that guy?
He's an animal. Thank you, son.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ross.
Have a good day. Thanks for being on. I'm glad you're happy to be here. That's Ross Cochran.
He's just silent. No more shenanigans, Dad.
Well, he had another call coming in.
Oh.
Yeah, he was doing Zippy and Pippi and the Longstockings on one of the other stations.
Oh, yes.
That's the worst. That is the worst poll for a morning show name I've ever had.
Zippy and Pippi.
It's 8:29. Still to come, we have one of the lawsuits has been filed by a prominent attorney whose name you may know, Patrick Salvi. He'll join us to talk about the nightmare at Northwestern and the litigation that's really starting to crank up now. Oh, and before 9, more double feature movies that are coming out. It's not just Barbie and Oppenheimer. The list keeps getting longer.
Wait, and what? Did you already tell us that we didn't win?
I didn't tell you that. Yeah.
Or did we win, Emil?
I did go over. You remember yesterday in this hour, I bought you all lottery tickets.
Yes, and you promised you'd tell us 2 hours ago.
The $1 billion winner was in California. There was a couple $1 million winners in Illinois. And
let's hear it, Pippi and Zippy.
Nothing. Nobody want to think. Everybody lost.